Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Power of elimination. You know, we've been talking about 12 powers. I don't know. How many of you have been for any of the other 12 powers? Lots of you, right? Yeah. So this is one of the 12 powers. What I like to call it, I mean, sometimes we shift around in some of the words. Some of the powers have multiple names, but they really mean the same thing. What I like is the word release, because for me, it really is an opportunity for us to let go of things that don't serve any longer. And it's an important power for us to use, because what happens is we get into habits, don't we? We get into patterns. We get into ways of being that really don't serve us. And so what we do is we look for the bright, new, shiny thing. And we go and add it to our pile, don't we? We run out and learn something new. We get a new book. We get a new friend. We get a new something in our life. We get a new plan, a new eating plan, a new thing to add to and to keep throwing on top of the things that we've been doing all along, and to really go through and determine what isn't working any longer. That sounds kind of boring, doesn't it? And it just sounds like not fun. And the deal is that when we start to look at what has started to hold us back, what is actually adding to like senescence in us. Senescence meaning something that is dying off, something that is kind of dead but still present. It's like dead weight. It's like carrying around dead weight all the time, because we either are trying to pump life into something that doesn't serve anymore, something that doesn't work anymore. We keep beating our heads against a wall because it used to work. So it's like we're trying to like put some new energy into it. We think if we just do it louder and harder and bigger and more, that somehow it's suddenly going to snap to and work again. But it doesn't, because the arc of time is past, and there's some new energy, and life is not meant to be hard, even when it really is hard sometimes. It's not meant to be that way, and there isn't the patterns that we are in the habit of doing, and the ways in which we have either been modeled to us, or that we've been taught, or the values that have worked in the past, that suddenly just start to wear out and just don't serve us anymore. And we hate to admit it, because sometimes we don't know what to grab hold of next. But here's the deal. Until you turn loose, you can't grab onto anything else, right? You have to be able to release. This is probably one of the primarily most important powers you could become acquainted with and master of. I will tell you that this is the power, actually, through which all of your happiness, all of your healing has to come through. This power to release, to let go, frees up our energy, our creativity. It opens our hearts. It allows us to move into a whole new direction, into a whole new field, that we're not tethered to patterns and old practices and old ways of being. This is where the new really exists, and it's in a fresh, new, scary sometimes kind of place that we would not know and we couldn't experience without the power of elimination, the power of letting go, the power of knowing what no longer serves, and to be able to sift through it all, to release those patterns. What does Charles Fillmore say about elimination? This is how he describes it. He says, first of all, you should know that thoughts are things. They occupy space in the mental field. A healthy state of mind is attained and continued when the thinker willingly lets go of the old thoughts and takes on the new. This is illustrated by the inlet and the outlet of a pool of water. If you stop the inlet and the pool goes dry, if you close the natural outlet and the pool stagnates, or like the Dead Sea, it crystallizes its salts until they preserve everything they touch. If we are not allowing that flow to flow through us, if we are stopped up because we are hanging on to, we're hoarding the things in our lives and the relationships and the resentments and the fears, when we're hoarding on to things that have come up in our past and we are not going to let pass, we're not going to let them evolve, we're not going to let them die, we're not going to let them off the hook or let ourselves off the hook. When we are stuck there, we are ourselves paralyzed. It's us that is stuck. It is us that cannot move forward. We can't grow like that. We have retarded our own growth the whole time that we are still searching and grasping at something else to pull in, to add to. But as Charles Fillmore says, all we end up doing is stagnating, crystallizing, creating a memorial to the things that just don't work anymore, to the things that have hurt us, or to the people in our lives that just aren't going to come back. They're not coming back. Somehow there's a place in us, that healthy instinct in us, that should allow things to come in as it also allows things to release and to let go, that we call that the flow of life. And this power of elimination is a power for us to recognize that we can let go of things and release them, and to give them the freedom to move forward and to allow ourselves to create a space in us for something new to develop. The most important thing to recognize is that when something doesn't work, stop doing it. You know, I'm not a genius, but I can figure that much out. If it's not working, you don't have to figure out why it's not working. What's wrong? You didn't hold your mouth just right. You didn't do it on a Tuesday. You did it on a Thursday, and maybe that's the difference. And maybe it's the way I used to do it. Maybe it was when so-and-so was in my life, and that made everything better, and so that's why that worked, and now it doesn't, and oh my gosh, I'm still angry about that. You know, it's like, if it doesn't work anymore, stop doing it. You know what? Just stopping, right? Stop. That already is something different. Can you hear that? You don't know what to replace it with or what to do different, maybe. But if you just stop doing what doesn't work anymore, you've created a whole new field of possibility just in the stopping. You start to open yourself to something new and something different. Some new idea will come. And if you also, here's the other trick, if you stop beyond your comfort level, because you're going to time out on that stopping, aren't you? You're going to get to a place, okay, I've stopped long enough. Okay, so what? So what are we going to do now? So what do I need to do? And I need to run around and find something, or I need to ask all my friends, or find out what they do. And, you know, that's not bad ideas. But really, the truth for yourself is already going to come through you from here. That's the ticket. That's the point. That's where the flow is going to come through. That's where the real wisdom is. That's what's really going to be next. Your friends can point in that direction, or they can share what's worked for them. But they're on a whole different curriculum. They're in a different trajectory from you. They have a whole different set of life lessons, more than likely. And what has served them may only be a finger pointing in the general direction of what could be true for you. And while that's better than maybe where you were, the answer is only going to still come with certainty from inside of you. And the only way to get there is to stop and listen. Another important thing is that whenever something isn't working any longer, the only thing we know to do if we're trying to figure it out up here is to look at what happened. Where did it come from? What did I used to do? How was it in the past? How did I see other people do it? What did my parents do that I can avoid doing? What is it that, whatever. How should I, where's my reference point? There's a biblical story at the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And Lot and his wife are escaping the destruction of the towns, and they were told by an angel to just pick up what they had and flee. Don't look back. Pick up whatever is right there and get out of Sodom and Gomorrah and get as far away as you can get. And whatever you do, don't look back. And then as they went up sort of a switchback in the hills, and they got to a certain point above the valley, Lot's wife couldn't resist turning and looking back. And the story goes that she was turned into a pillar of salt. Now, I don't think that's very fair, personally, but that's what the story said. But what I can understand about it is that whenever it is that we can't look where we are going, that we have to keep looking back, that it paralyzes us, that it crystallizes us into the pattern that makes it harder and harder to adapt, to think of anything new. If every reference point to my current situation is back to an old injury or to an old wound or to an old unforgiveness or an old resentment or an old relationship or something that was supposed to work that never did, to somebody who did me wrong, if I am constantly referencing how it is that I wouldn't be where I am today in this predicament if that had been different, then I am stuck, am I not? There is no way that any amount of possibility stretching for as far as the eye can see becomes possible for me because I'm not looking at it. I'm looking back. Whenever it is that we are ready for the next thing, what is the biggest thing that stops us? I'm talking about unforgiveness, looking back in the history. But where else we'll find history is something that churns up fear. So it's either unforgiveness or it's some form of fear, something that says, I can't do this, it's not going to work out, I could hurt myself, I could get hurt. This could turn out bad, I could feel bad, I could be embarrassed. I mean, I know how many of us have been stopped just because we could be embarrassed by it, right? I could fail, and boy, that would be embarrassing, so I'll never try anything new, right? Because what's the worst thing that could happen to you? I could be embarrassed. Somebody would hear, somebody would know. Fear is the thing that keeps us in place. It's a healthy thing, it's a reflex, it's an important piece of information, potentially, to factor in, to be careful, to plan for contingency, to make good, careful plans. That's important. That's how we've lived as long as we have. That's how we've evolved. It's never meant to be in charge. That like you live in an electrical field of fear things, that if you touch that, that's going to hurt. If you do this, no. So you just get smaller and smaller when you obey the fear, rather than calculate it into the picture and determine that it's worth the risk to go after that bright, shiny thing right there, right? My granddaughter, Violet, was about 1.5 years old, and she was we were at the swimming pool, all the family, and she was laying on her back with her little floaties on, with her head pointed towards the edge of the pool. Now, we were all standing around in the 4 or 5 foot end of the pool, talking like, adults do. And so we were all just kind of hanging around in the pool, and I watched as she was edging her way with on her back, face up, with her head towards the edge of the pool, and she was looking up and doing this and edging herself, scooting herself closer and closer and closer to the edge of the pool. So I was curious. So I go over there and I watch her, and I see her little face getting closer and closer to the edge of the pool. Now there's probably a drop like this from the edge of the pool to the top of the water. So I watched as her little head came to the edge and then hung over, and her hair dripping into the water. And so I stood over her and I said, Violet, this is not going to turn out good. This isn't going to work out the way you think. She didn't pay any attention to me. She said not a word. She was focused. And she just edged and edged until her head submerged into the water. So I'm standing there. I'm the grandmother, and I'm thinking, should I be doing something right now? So I wait. And sure enough, she takes both her feet and she flips them over, and she falls into the water. She's got her floaties on, so it's no sooner is in than her head pops out, water streaming down her face before she can take in that first breath. And of course, I'm ready for it. I know this is going to be a loud scream, cry. I've been here, done that, right? So I'm waiting for that, and all of a sudden, as soon as the water clears, her eyes open, and she goes, I did it again. And so she went back over to the edge, and she did it no less than 25 more times. And I just thought, that is the coolest kid I know. I mean, really. She had no idea what was going to happen. She didn't happen to think that water up her nose was a big deal, apparently. I thought it was a showstopper right there, but she didn't. And here's the neatest thing, is that she has continued to go through life with big, wide open eyes. Everything is amazing to her. She loves bugs. She loves nature. She loves seeing new things and trying things. And she runs around like a crazy person. She's from outer space, I'm sure of it. And she has taught me that, there's some power in the not knowing, but in knowing enough that you're on the right track to the next thing you're here to do and to experience. That no matter how it turns out, whether it's what you expected or what you didn't, whether it hurts a little bit or water gets up your nose or whatever, it was worth it because you did it. You did it, and you want to do that again. If not that very thing, something a lot like that. You suddenly teach yourself that you're going to be okay no matter what happens. And fear is just a little calculation to throw into the mix of all the other reasons why you're going to do something new. Logan Eliason went to the post office, and he was on his way to mail his letter, and he charges up to the big, heavy glass doors and ignored the sign that was on the door that he chose. And so he banged right into he was going at such a velocity, he banged right into the door, and it didn't open. And it knocked him back. He actually fell back onto the pavement, and he was kind of stunned for a minute, embarrassed, but mostly he was angry. He was angry at the door. He was angry at himself. He was angry at the postmaster that was looking at him from inside, kind of like with a concerned look on his face. But then he realized he wasn't really angry about any of that. What he was really angry about was that last night he had asked a girl out that he had been talking to and thought maybe this was the right time, and she hadn't accepted his offer to go out on a date. In fact, she was pretty clear that that wasn't something that was going to happen in the future for the two of them. And he was really hurt by it and angry. And he didn't know what was wrong. And he didn't know why this couldn't work. And he didn't know what it was that God was trying to tell him. Because It just seems like sometimes there are doors that just close in your life. And those really seem like perfectly good doors. And we're not really sure why it is that some other doors that I have yet to see open are better. And so in that moment, we're just stuck, aren't we? We're just mad. And for some of us, we will keep charging that shut door. We will try it. We will shake the handle. We'll get some people to help us. We'll do some problem solving, right? We'll try to get that door open. We'll try to figure out why that door won't open. And what Logan decided is that he doesn't know why this girlfriend wouldn't go out with him, or what the future is in his own life, or what the right door really even is. But he knows that whatever it is that's in store for him, if he lets go of the one that doesn't open, just like at the post office, he can walk up to the door that does open and push on it and walk right through. And that's what the power of elimination does for us. It lets us wise up, get sane, and do the right thing, the next good thing, the one that's going to work, the one without the broken sign on it, that would let us know this is the right door to walk through, and use that one. Sogyal Rinpoche said, although we've been made to believe that if we let go, we will end up with nothing, life reveals just the opposite, that letting go is the real path to freedom. Letting go is another code word for forgiveness. It's another way to remember one of the most important, powerful spiritual practices you will ever become good at, I hope. I hope you have a lot to forgive in your life, for yourself and for others, because the practice of forgiveness will make you a spiritual master. It is the letting go that creates the heart and the compassion and the capacity to really invite in the bigness of this life, the ways in which more love can fill us up, can draw us together, to make things work. The quicker we're able to forgive, the less likely we are to restrict or to deny or to carve out a place where others can't be with us, to draw lines in our lives, to sever relationships and never go back. The more we're able to forgive, the more we're able to live, really, to really live. Let me tell you another story. This is Karen Valentine. I'm going to use her words. She says, as I was cleaning my home with my playlist on shuffle, the song I had danced to with my father on my wedding day came up. After my divorce, and for a number of years, I might have turned it off or changed the song. But as I listen to it now, it made my heart happy. I remembered that dance, cheek resting on my father's shoulder, feeling all of his love, being his little girl. I felt grateful for my wedding day. And though the marriage failed, I got to experience my father walking me down the aisle that day. And I was able to see and feel the love and support of so many people who still love and support me today. It was a fun-filled occasion and a celebration of love in so many ways. And as justified as I can feel at times to find a reason to despise my ex-husband, I'm going to tell you that will never happen. There were great times in our marriage, too. He was part of my life. And we have 2 beautiful boys because of that marriage. He has to live with his choices, and I with mine. But for now, I'm basking in the glow of love given to me every day by my children, my family, and my friends. There's no room for hate here. That picture, that voice you just heard from Karen Valentine, that's what release looks like. That's what forgiveness sounds like, feels like, frees you, frees us. We no longer wish anything different had happened in the past. We now have culled so much good from everything that went wrong and unexpected and not the way we wanted it, that we now realize the blessing and the person we have become because of it. And to change that, we have no idea all the losses that would come that have brought us to this point if we went back and made a different choice there. You feel that? Do you know of a time in your life when that was true? That the very thing you would never have wished on the worst, your worst enemy or anyone else happened to you, and yet now the blessings are so obvious and the change so great and the power in you is so different. You wouldn't undo that, even for the heartache and for the pain and for the struggle that it was. You wouldn't change it because of where you are today and who you have become. Mary Manamorsy says, even though you may want to move forward in your life, you may have one foot on the brakes. In order to be free, we have to learn to let go. Release the hurt. Release the fear. Refuse to entertain your old pain. The energy it takes to hang on to the past is holding you back from a new life. Ask yourself, what is it you would let go of today? One thing you know is past its due date, that is smelling up the kitchen of your life. One thing that you know, no amount of push and pull and struggle is going to make that work again. Think about that. Because when you finally do let go, there'll be a big voice inside of you that rejoices and will say, I did it! I did it! Again! God bless you all.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.